Hello, welcome to Waypoint Survival. Today, let's talk about the hollow handle survival knife. Stay tuned. So when I was a teenager, back in the 1980s, these things were sold everywhere, and this was the survival knife. And you know, kids love these things. Like I said, I was a teenager when I got mine, and it comes in this leatherette sheath. It's not actually leather, it's actually a vinyl, and you can get kind of an idea what it looks like inside there. It's not a real leather, of course, but it came with the sharpening stone here, and it's a pretty decent sharpening stone, coarse, not a real fine sharpening stone, but enough for a halfway decent edge. The sheath is riveted together with some stitching. I had a compass here in the handle, which kind of sort of still works. It's not the best one, but it does sort of, even though most of the fluid, or some of the fluid anyway, has drained out of it. It doesn't float as well as it used to. Open up the snap holder here, and pulling it out, you can see here it has the, you know, saw back, which is not a saw, it's just ridged, and I guess it would be alright for a really rough you know, notch if you had to. Bottle opener, which, you know, I've never really found any bottles in the woods that I had to open. And as you can see, I have sharpened the blade, and I used to play around this knife a lot, and I had to straighten the tip out. Anyway, what's inside here is kind of what's unique, and so let's get to that. So, laying the sheath aside here for a minute, we'll just lay it down there. This end screws off, and as a hollow handle knife, you can see it's kind of broken inside where the compass was. You set that aside, and it has these two split rings right here, and that is for the saw. And if you reach inside here and pull this out, it's always easier said than done. There we go. Alright, there's a couple of bags in here. It has some gear in it, and you can see down inside the nut. Now, the biggest problem with these knives, besides the fact that they're cheap, this one was made in Taiwan. Have no idea what the steel is, but it's a really cheap grade of stainless. But it connects right here. So this is a hollow handle, and there's literally just a nut that attaches inside here. So I mean, the blade goes back a very short ways into the handle. And of course that means this is a very weak junction. Inside this small bag here, and it's still stapled shut, I never did open it or have to use it, but there are about 6 hooks, there are about 3 split shot sinkers, and then there's a length of line, fishing line, and some needles. Probably, maybe 10 feet of fishing line, something like that. So not a huge amount of gear, but enough to get you some protein. And this side over here, you have 6 matches with the striker wrapped around it. And as you can see, I've had it so long that the rubber band is deteriorated. And this is supposed to be the wire saw, which has really hardly any grooves. But the idea, of course, is that you would fasten this ring into each side, and then with a sawing motion, you'd be able to, you know, cut firewood and make shelter and all that. So it looks good, but it's a pretty useless survival knife. I mean, it's a weak connection here. It's poor steel. You know, I mean, it would be better than nothing, but not a whole lot better. And of course, the hooks and the fishing equipment here, of course, would be quite useful. You could still use that to get fish. That would be fine. And the matches, have no idea if they're any good anymore. They're pretty old. But anyway, it is what it is, and back in the day, probably some of you had something very similar. This was kind of the quintessential survival knife. Everybody wanted one, and it was kind of a neat thing. And but it's not the best knife, and I have something much better that I want to show you. So stay tuned. So the new knife that I have, survival knife, is made by Schrade, and let's see here on the end you can see SCHF1SM, and they also make a 2. This is the SCHF1. They make the SCHF2SM also, and I'll put a link down below, so if you want to go purchase one, you can. But anyway, this is a great knife, and show what that looks like. So first of all, You can see here it has a nice nylon sheath, ballistic nylon. The back of it here opens up. It's Velcro, but it also has an area to put it on your belt. You can close it down so you can take it on and off your belt without having to take your belt off. That's a really nice option. It has this small pouch here in the front. It doesn't come with a sharpening stone, but you could put one in it, or a small Altoids kit perhaps, if you wanted to really make it a much better survival knife. And of course it is Molly on the back, and that's always a nice feature. And it's actually, get that snap undone there, nice and stiff, but it's Molly and Velcro, and so has several different carry options. I really like the sheath. I think it's a nice advantage. Of course, it has a tie down for your thigh, a bit of a lanyard on top. Alright, so details about this knife. First of all, it has a plastic insert in the sheath also to keep it, but keep it from cutting the nylon. But you can see the blade here, and it's a spear point, and it is a plain blade, no serrations. I don't care for serrations on any of my knives that I use for bushcrafting. It does fit my hand quite well. It has a handle here which screws off, and has a rubber O-ring on it to help protect the contents inside. Now, originally, this knife comes with this as an insert, which is a nut driver and several different sizes of bits. But I'm not exactly sure why they tout this as a survival knife, and they sell it with different types of screwdriver bits. I do have the specifications for it. First of all, it's a 5.6 inch blade, or 14.2 centimeters. It has a 4.7 inch handle, 11.9 centimeters. It is made of a 1070 high carbon steel. The whole outfit weighs about 12.5 ounces, and what makes this unique is it is a one-piece steel construction. There are no connections. This is one single piece of steel that has been milled out. The handle's been knurled, and then it was cleaned out on the inside to make the handle hollow. This is a great hollow handle survival knife, and if you're going to have one, going to use it, this right here would be the kind that I would go for. And they're not horribly expensive. They go anywhere from $50 to $60 depending on where you find them. So inside the handle, I'll take that off and I'll show you what I have stored inside for a survival blade. So inside, take this off, and there of course is the nut driver section, but we just have some small plastic bags inside, and go ahead and dump this out. Alright, so what I have here is I have a small spool of 80-pound test spider wire, and it's about 24 feet, so quite a bit of line, and I think that's about a little over 7.5 meters of fishing line there. Inside here I have 6 Strike Anywhere matches that are dipped in wax to help keep them watertight. And then over on this side I've put in 12 hooks, 6 lead sinkers, and 2 sewing needles, along with 1 safety pin. And then I have a small length of ferrocerium rod. So I have the ability to fish, 2 different ways to start a fire, do some minimal gear repairs, and all of that stored in the handle of the knife. Now, you know, you might say, is that all you need? Well, of course not. You know, there's a lot of things that you might wish you had in survival, but it's a whole lot better than nothing, and it all fits and stores quite well inside, and it's just sort of an extra backup for your gear. And for those of you who like hollow handle survival knives, it's a pretty neat option, and I would highly recommend this. I haven't used this. It's actually brand new, and it was not given to me. It was actually purchased for me as a gift a couple of years ago, and I've just now got around to finally putting some stuff in the handle. But I'm familiar with this type of knife, and I would highly recommend it. Of course, Schrade is a very well-known company, and you can see right here its designation. So there it is. Comparing these two blades, they're roughly the same size as far as overall length and everything. I've used this one a bunch. I mean, when I was a teenager, I carried this through the woods. I did all kinds of things with it. I mean, for being cheap, it actually held up pretty well. I wish I'd had something of this quality, but they didn't make it back then. And when the first, hollow handle survival knives, came out of one-piece steel and all that, they were really, really expensive, hundreds of dollars. And so I'm really glad that Schrade has decided to make something of this quality. And like I said, I haven't used this. It's brand new, but I would have no problem taking this into the woods by my side and having complete confidence. I mean, it's one piece of steel. You're pretty much not going to break this. And as you can see, it's actually fairly thick steel also. And I believe it will hold up under some pretty extreme conditions. As a matter of fact, it is called the Extreme Survival One-Piece Steel Special Forces Fixed Blade Knife. So that's a long title, but anyway, it's a pretty neat deal. And I hope you've enjoyed this little review, and I just wanted to show you some things that I think are worth having if you're into this sort of a tool for the outdoors. This is the one that I would get. This is James Bender for Waypoint Survival. Please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure and check the links in the description box below, and don't forget to press the bell button to stay notified of all of our upcoming videos, and we'll talk to you next time.